What would happen if Nigeria went offline for just one day? No WhatsApp, no Instagram, no TikTok. Who would you talk to? What would you finally say? And what would you discover about yourself? Hello, and welcome to Tales by the Wordsmith, a space where we tell fictional and non-fictional Nigerian stories with real-life narratives and experiences that touch, heal, and inspire us. Today's story is something that I believe that we will all be able to relate to, especially as young adults. So sit back as usual, relax, and enjoy the video.
It started at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. No particular Tuesday, just a Tuesday. The kind of Tuesday that had no business being historic. Chukwuemeka was mid-scroll, deep in a rabbit hole of TikTok videos about a man in Enugu who had taught his goat to moonwalk when his phone did something it had never done before. It stopped. Not died, not frozen, just stopped connecting. The little spinning circle at the top of his screen spun and spun like it had somewhere important to be, then gave up entirely. No internet connection. He clicked off and on his data. Off, on, off, on. He held his phone to the window as if Lagos sunlight contained Wi-Fi. He restarted. He cursed. He restarted again. Nothing. Across town, in a 3-bedroom flat in Lekki, Temi, the content creator, was experiencing what she would later describe in a very long thread once the internet returned as the worst morning of my entire existence, including the day I was born. She had woken up at 5 a.m. to post her morning routine, the golden hour lighting, the smoothie she had blended but would not drink, the journaling she had photographed but had not actually done. All of it, staged, filtered, captioned, hashtagged, and now Instagram was refusing to accept her offering. Babe, she shook her sleeping boyfriend Dayo, who was a man who believed in rest. Instagram is down. Okay, she sat up. Dayo, my morning content has a 90-minute shelf life. If I don't post by 7, the algorithm will... Tell me, he opened one eye. Lie down. I cannot lie down. I am a brand. He closed his eye. She sat at the edge of the bed in full ring light makeup, smoothie in hand, completely unable to perform her life for anyone. And for the first time in 3 years, she didn't know what to do with herself. She sat there for 11 full minutes. Then, very slowly, she drank the smoothie. It was actually good. She had forgotten. In Surulere, Mr. and Mrs. Adeyemi were eating breakfast together for, honestly, neither of them could remember. Not because they were fighting, not because they didn't love each other, but because breakfast had always meant husband on his phone reading Channel's TV comments, a horrible habit that made him angry for the rest of the day. Wife responding to her sister's WhatsApp messages, a 47-person family group that required active moderation at all times. But today, there was nothing to read, nothing to moderate, just groundnut soup reheated from last night, and the odd silence of two people who had been married for 19 years suddenly noticing that they were sitting very close to each other. You look tired, Mr. Adeyemi said, because it was the first thing that came to mind. His wife looked at him. That's the first thing you say to me? I mean, you look beautiful, but also tired. Beautifully tired, like a tired queen. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she laughed, really laughed, the kind she kept in a drawer somewhere and had forgotten about, and said, 19 years and you still don't know how to talk to me. I'm trying, he said, grinning now. Try harder. So he did. For the next 45 minutes, over reheated soup and lukewarm Lipton tea, they talked, really talked, about the children, about the house in the village they kept meaning to finish building, about a trip to Obudu they had planned in 2009 and somehow never taken, about nothing, about everything. It was, Mrs. Adeyemi would think later, a very good breakfast. Later that day,
Their daughter, Simi, 17, had emerged from her room for the first time voluntarily since December. "Mommy, is the Wi-Fi working for you? Come and sit down. Let me do your hair." "I don't need—" "Simi, come." And Simi, with no phone to retreat into, sat, and her mother's hands moved through her hair the same way they had when Simi was small and didn't think of herself to be too old for things like this. And neither of them said anything for a while. "Mommy," Simi said eventually. "Did you ever feel like you didn't know what you wanted to do with your life?" Her mother's hands paused, then continued. "Every day until I was 34. Simi twisted around. "Seriously?" Face front, her mother turned her back gently. "I thought I wanted to be a pharmacist, then a journalist, then I married your father, which was its own kind of mistake and miracle." She paused. "Why are you asking?" Simi was quiet. "I don't know if I want to study law." "Okay. You are not upset?" "I'm your mother, not your warden." A gentle tug. "Talk to me. I'm not going anywhere." And for the next hour, Simi talked, and her mother listened, and the braiding got done so slowly it barely mattered. Meanwhile, Chukwuemeka had been standing outside a pale yellow building on Allen Avenue for 45 minutes. He had come here by Danfo, which had taken an hour because the traffic was somehow worse today, probably because of the national shutdown of social media, he simply guessed. He had been rehearsing what he was going to say to Adaise 900 times, and each version was worse than the last. The plan had always been to text Adaise, to type something smooth and measured, and then stare at his phone for 6 hours while she either replied or didn't. He had been executing this plan, or more accurately, failing to execute this plan for 8 months. But today, there was no texting. Today, there was no buffer. Today, his phone was a small, useless rectangle, and Adaise walked on the 3rd floor of this building, and he knew her lunch break was at 1 p.m. because he had paid attention, helplessly, for 8 months. It was 12:58. She came out the front door in a yellow dress that had no right to exist, laughing at something on her colleague's face, and then she looked up and saw him, and the laughing slowed. "Chukwuemeka?" "Hi." His mouth was drier than the harmattan. "I know this is... I was in the area." She looked around Allen Avenue, which they both knew was nowhere near where he lived or worked. "Okay." "The thing is," he said and then stopped. The thing is, he had not prepared past the thing is. She waited. A small smile had appeared somewhere around the edges of her mouth, and it was either going to save him or destroy him. "I like you," he said finally, because there was nothing else left. "You took a Danfo," he said. "Yes." "For me?" "Yes." She considered him. He stood very still like a man awaiting sentencing. "I was going to get suya. You can come if you want." He exhaled so completely he nearly folded in half. "I want," he said. The internet came back at 6:52 a.m. the following morning, quietly, without explanation or apology, as if it had simply stepped out to run an errand and couldn't understand what all the fuss was about. Temi posted 17 pieces of content in the first hour, including a reel about what a digital detox taught me about myself, which performed very well. The Adeyemi parents booked the Obudu trip, actually booked it with a card, non-refundable, before Mr. Adeyemi opened a single news comment section. Simi changed her JAMB subject combination, and Chukwuemeka texted Adaise good morning, a thing he had never had the courage to do before, and she replied in 4 minutes, and it was the best 4 minutes of his life. Nigeria came back online. But some things, once connected, stay that way. Wow, that was surely one hell of a story to tell. If you enjoyed it and would like to see more stories like this one also, please consider subscribing to the channel. We post videos like this here twice every week. And if you actually enjoyed this one, also consider liking and commenting on the video as well. As subtle as that may be, it really helps to push our content to an even wider audience. Thank you for stopping by. I remain your host, The Wordsmith, and I will see you another time on our next video. Till then, have a wonderful day, stay loved, stay happy, and stay safe. Peace.